very good day to you and welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel this particular Monday. My name is Jedel Kibero. It's always an honor, it's always a pleasure to have you joining us for these conversations which we say we hope will help our political leaders in making better policy and political moves. Today we're talking about Jimmy Wanjigi, businessman come politician, now making headlines in this country. I'm here with Prof. Manyora. He puts it across in a hard-hitting way. We want to understand, Prof, what is happening with this man, Jimmy? Is he becoming stronger or more popular as days progress? And what would you attribute to that? Is it his candidness, or is the time ripe for someone like him?
Well, Jimmy is a figure you can write a few things about. First of all, he's a billionaire. But now that there are many billionaires in Kenya, that's no longer anything.
Yeah.
He used to be mysterious. At least he has opened up a bit. We know him now. But he's also candid. He can look power in the eyes. Because, you know what gives Jimmy this courage? He has been with these people. In fact, he has told us, on his own authority, that he helped Uhuru and Ruto form the government. The story of Madimon, you heard of it.
Yes.
Of the demons, of Mudavadi having been promised to be the president, to be backed by Ruto and Uhuru because of ICC. Jimmy was the man behind the change of all that. So that when Uhuru now changed, he said it was demons, Madimon.
Yes.
So Jimmy and a few other people prevailed upon Uhuru and Ruto not to surrender the presidency to Mudavadi. And run for it. I've been to Jimmy's place, and he's told me where you are sitting there is where this guy sat as we were forming this government. So he can look at them in the eyes. Yeah.
Is time ripe for someone
Yes.
like him? Is this also the case? Because everyone is looking for something different. He was talking about there's a political class, there's this class that is in the middle, and then there's the poor. Is everyone looking for someone who can come out and show that he's not part of the political class? And could it be him because he has formed government before?
You know, I was in a meeting. I've been invited to very many meetings.
Interesting.
A lot of people call me, and sometimes I go to very strange meetings. There is this feeling in this country that there is room for another person other than the established figures. You know, we have always run this two-horse thing. Kibaki, Raila, Uhuru Raila, Ruto Raila, no. There's this feeling in this country, there's going to be a third arrangement, a third force. This time not a donkey, but a really horse. This has been made even more so by the Gen Z revolution. And people sort of think the young men for the first time are going to be directly involved in the politics of this country at the actual voting level. Whereby they will register to vote, something they have not done in the past, and they will actually turn out to vote. And they will decide who becomes a president. And that this could bring into the picture the so-called third horse. And I've been to meetings where people have talked about Jimmy Wanjigi, others say, he's just like them, he's just another billionaire, he's just what? Others, he's courageous. So let's just put it this way.
Yes.
As they mention Okio Mtata, they mention Jimmy Wanjigi, they mention others. I add for them Mother Karua. Some even add Manyora here.
Yes.
Another one could add Jad.
Yes.
But they were a very serious presidential candidate, if I choose to stand.
We're not talking about you today.
Yeah, but today we are not talking about me. So I'm just trying to show you.
Yes.
I'm using that to show you that names are being floated. Jimmy is one of those names. Yes.
So where does he come in this matrix? Apart from, the third horse, does he also fit in how politics used to play? Because this is the conversation we talk about when it comes to Rigathi Gachagua, Mount Kenya region. We talk about Kalonzo, Kambani region. Does Jimmy also come into play in this other...
In the traditional politics?
Yes.
There was a time Jimmy was a very serious alternative to the established figures, Uhuru Kenyatta and the rest. But he allowed it to go down. And I don't think now he can outstage even Rigathi Gachagua. It's a little difficult. And if Uhuru Kenyatta were to work with somebody, it won't be Jimmy. Most likely it'll just be Rigathi Gachagua.
So what should Jimmy bank on if he's going to vie for president? Is this conversation about debt, trying to look at those who really look into the details? Should he be looking at that towards that side instead of going this Mount Kenya, let me get the kingpinship kind of way?
You know what Jimmy has been banking on is the fact of Kikuyu people liking tough people, a jumbo of sorts. And he worked with Raila. He had the courage to back Raila when no Kikuyu was doing it. He stood up against Uhuru and Ruto. You can see now he's standing up against authority. That would be his card. That if he's looking to be the Mount Kenya kingpin, Kikuyus look for men of that type. When you look around the region of Mountain, you don't see those kind of people. That's why you can see, people do not understand why Gachagua is that as aggressive as he is. Gachagua, like Jimmy Wanjigi, understand that Kikuyu do not like feeble men. They really like bad boys. You remember around the time Raila had issues with Kibaki, there's a time Uhuru with his left hand banged the table. Bap! It can't be this man disturbing us all the time. I could see that bang on the table was felt across the Mount Kenya region. And it excited the region. It was roaring within from the mountain tops. So that's what Jimmy will be going for. And you can see Gachagua seems to be upstaging him. Because Gachagua is now more outspoken, more rough, more manly if you wish. So that will be it. But again, there is always the idea that the mountain is restless. And it will be safe, even if our Ruto. It will be safe to assume, actually to believe, work with the fact that Mount Kenya has slipped out of Ruto's fingers. So then the question becomes, who?
In Mount Kenya.
Who in Mount Kenya? Because the Mount Kenya are done with Ruto. If Ruto is still working with Mount Kenya in mind, then he's not the tough.
He had his development tour in Mount Kenya.
But I don't know what he will do to change that. Mount Kenya has slipped out of Ruto's fingers. He has lost it. That is the truth on the ground. We know we speak only truth as we know it. Quite often, it coincides with what it is. And that's what it is. So then, there is Gachagua. And there is Jimmy. Now, Jimmy's hope will be that Gachagua either does not have that other thing that starts with B, which we can't say now, to face Ruto in 2027, or he decides not support Ruto but support another individual, like Kalonzo or Raila or something like that, and then creates a vacuum. And that's where people like Jimmy will fit in. Because the truth is, the mountain doesn't have to have people. It doesn't seem to have people. These are settled like babies, all of them. None of them is a warrior in a manner, like Americans.
Yes.
Americans love a tough guy to be president.
Yes.
If you have peered from somewhere, you are a general for something, you have been tough in a war or anything, and you offer yourself. That's why, like Lord Powell was being told, stand,
even
Colonel
now,
Powell.
with Kamala Harris as vice president,
Yes.
because he was in the army, everyone is saying, at least he can take leadership.
Yeah, so Americans love tough people, and Mount Kenya also have their share of that. They love tough people. Jimmy is coming out tough. Gachagua is coming out tough. And Uhuru is not quite interested in the picture because he's not running for president. My safe bet would be Jimmy has a chance. But he has his own weaknesses, which he will need to work on.
Which are?
Which I cannot discuss because he could give me the consultants.
You're not going to say any of them?
No, he has to give me a consultants. But he has a good chance. And even in the past, he has been having a good chance, but it's always not grabbing the chance.
But now for someone thinking, look, Prof, you're talking about traditional politics.
That's traditional.
Yes, and there are people thinking with this Gen Z thing.
Now that's a different ball game.
Can Gachagua handle Jimmy in this Gen Z thing? Because now everyone is looking at policies, governance. Everyone is looking at the future, not about tribe, not about where I've come from. Jimmy is the kind of person telling us, look, it's about economic recovery. It's about economy change. This is what we are fighting for now. And therefore, I'm the best for this. Can Gachagua handle Jimmy on this?
You know, it's quite possible, and it could be true, that issues will determine the election of 27th. But getting to State House is not a cup of tea. Getting to State House is about mobilization. It's about a serious presidential bid. It's about powerful individuals and forces and systems delivering you to the State House. It's not a small matter. Politics is also about perception in terms of if the Gen Zs really, if everything will boil down to removing Ruto Raila from the political scene of this country. If Raila goes to AU and his relationship with Ruto firms up to 2027, and therefore they are one, and the narrative in the country is let's remove Ruto and his team, that includes Raila. You see, even the Gen Zs may not be naive. They may know in order to do that, you need a formidable force.
He who can win.
A force, a person who can win, not just anybody who can talk about things or issues. No. What chance does that person have? And that's where Gachagua has an advantage over Jimmy.
So is this the sad reality about politics, that sometimes we see someone, like even in the US, there are people talking about RFK, but it's still Trump and Kamala.
Yes, that's how politics works. The perception, who between Jimmy Wanjigi and, say, Rigathi Gachagua can indeed dislodge Ruto in 2027. If the Gen Zs and everybody else believe it is Gachagua, then they will not look at the other things Jimmy is bringing on board. And who tells you Gachagua will not bring those things on board? Ruto was with Uhuru, and they did all the things together. They borrowed together. They messed everything. They presided over mega corruption that had never been seen in this country before, and the tribalism and everything else. But Ruto quickly ducked. I said, I was not the president. I can do better. I'm coming up, bottom up. Tuinue hawa jamaa wa chini waende juu. And people believed him. Who tells you Gachagua cannot say, we took this thing with this man? I was so sure we had learned from the past. We are going to avoid the past mistakes. We are going to deliver this country. But Ruto got somewhere and he just got drunk with power and got surrounded by tribesmen. What could I have done?
So Gachagua still has...
You can say that, yeah. And you know, the voter sometimes, I don't want to call the voter certain name, but the voter can be very vulnerable. And they will believe Gachagua. So, in summary, Gachagua will be more formidable as an alternative to Ruto, as a Mount Kenya beacon, than Jimmy Wanjigi.
Then finally, maybe talk to me about this ticket, Jimmy Wanjigi, Willis Otieno. When it comes to the traditional politics, let me just go back there a little bit, because Willis is supposed to be the person looking for Nyanza, you know, that West region, and Jimmy, Mount Kenya region. Does that ticket look like a sellable ticket?
That's part of the problem. It's not convincing at the level of seriousness. I'll tell you, in order for people to vote you in the millions, there is a level of seriousness that you must bring on board. So these two do not bring that level of seriousness.
Seriousness in terms of...
Yeah, you know, even believability. So people say, these guys can win. It doesn't come out.
So they have a lot
to
work
if Gachagua presents himself as a candidate, and Jimmy does, certainly obvious people go for Gachagua.
So maybe you
may not like it,
yeah,
but I'm not the one creating politics. That's how politics works.
So for the next 2 years, what Jimmy needs to work on, would you agree, would be perception that he can win the presidency?
He can win. He's different. He makes very, very clear, obvious mistakes. Jimmy is my friend. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've been to his home.
I've asked you about the weakness. Will you tell me the one mistake that he has
I
made?
cannot say because I'm looking for a job. Even Gachagua should look for me. Because Ruto has not looked for me. Raila is not looking for me. I'm now open to Gachagua and Jimmy. One of them should come. I'm looking for a job.
Okay, and I'm also looking for an analyst who can say the truth in this
Who can say that? No, I'm
without
saying-
looking for a job. So that is my call to anyone who can analyze without looking for a job. But until we do talk again, that has been my conversation with Herman Manyora. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.